Hey, welcome back to our Advent study where we are trying to take Christmas biblically seriously. We've been looking at what does it look like to be in the Christmas spirit. And now I want to start a new segment where we are looking at the geography. Like what I'm saying is we are looking at the locations in the Bible Christmas story and seeing how they might speak to the current location you are in. Maybe a physical location, but also even a spiritual location, a mental location that you might be in, and what God might be trying to do and show you in your life. And today I want us to look at a city we have already talked about a little bit. It showed up in one of the prophecies we looked at in the prophecies about Christmas. But I want to talk about Bethlehem, the city Jesus is born in, and really what led to Jesus being born in Bethlehem. So let's go to Luke chapter 2. And I'll give a brief little kind of introduction, and then we'll go to verse 4. Luke chapter 2, verse 4. In this moment, it had already been put out a decree that everyone there was going to be a mass, register. There was going to be a mass census, if you will. And so everybody's going to have to go back to their hometown. And this is what Luke chapter 2, verse 4 says. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David. So what I'm trying to get you to see here is this moment in Joseph's life specifically, and in Mary's life specifically. They've already been told, you are about to go through a season you never imagined you would go through. You are going to carry and give birth to the literal Son of God, the Messiah of the world, the one whom all of Scripture points to. That's what you're about to go through. Then all of a sudden, there comes a decree that everyone needs to be registered, that there's going to be a census taken. There's going to be, they want to do a head count of who's all still alive, and everyone's got to go to their hometown. What I'm trying to get you to see is this. Joseph had a good life of carpentry going for him in Nazareth. He had moved away from his hometown of Bethlehem. He had moved over to Nazareth to make something of himself. That's where his life is at. That's where he wants to be. And then all of a sudden, a setback comes and says, hey, actually, you need to go back to where you're from. You got to go back to this place you, for whatever reason, already left. And I need you to, in the middle of trying to give birth, in the middle of aches, pains, childbearing, all the things, I need you to load up on a donkey or load up on a camel and travel all the way back to Bethlehem. This is a massive inconvenience. That's what Bethlehem, to me, easily could have represented for Joseph, but I know it could easily represent that for you. A place of inconvenience, a place of, for real, why can't we just give birth right where we're at? Why do we have to go all the way back? And some of you, maybe God has you in a season of going back. It feels like there are some things you're having to do over again. It feels like there's some lessons you're having to learn over again. It's almost like going back to Bethlehem, going back to where I spent my childhood years. I thought I'd put all this behind me. It's easy to get frustrated when you get tasked with going back to Bethlehem. But as we looked at in the Christmas prophecy section, it was prophesied that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. Be born in Bethlehem. Go look at that video. It was prophesied that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. Listen to me. The inconvenience led to Jesus being the literal and legitimate incarnation. Not trying to be preachy with that, but it just worked out. The inconvenience made legitimate the incarnation, that Jesus for real is the Son of God. And what might God, here's what I want to say. What might God be trying to legitimize by making you go back to a place he already brought you out of? Going back to Bethlehem, going back to square one, going back to a place you thought, hey, I thought we moved past this already. Maybe God has you going back so that he can take you forward the way you should have gone all along. There's a blessing in going back to Bethlehem. There's a blessing in going back to our roots. Here's what I'm trying to say. I think God is calling you back to your roots. I think God is calling you back to this place of who you knew him to be before all of the academics and before all of the nuances and before all the doubt crawled up in your head, who you knew him to be when there was none of that there. God is calling you back to your roots, who you were and where you started when it all began. Don't be afraid to go back to Bethlehem this Christmas.